So I just want to tell you a little bit about my journey, okay? I'm still on my journey. I learned later in life the journey never ends, okay? When I was younger, I thought there was a finish line. And when you think there's a finish line and you're pushing to get to this finish line thinking if I only get here, it's going to do this. And then when you get there and you realize it's a letdown, that there's more, and sooner or later you start to realize there is no finish line. It's just a journey, and you got to learn how to enjoy the journey and just enjoy the ride and keep raising the bar so you never hit that finish line, so you continue going. And that's the actual motivation and the purpose, is to see how far you could actually go, because there's no finish line. And I learned that the hard way, okay? So part of this story, I'm going to talk about why are you here, okay? And what are you going to do with this opportunity? Because this is a great opportunity for all of us, okay? This is a great opportunity. Anytime you can get paid on your individual efforts and you can control that bar, depending on how much are you willing to learn, how hard are you willing to work, what are you willing to sacrifice, and are you willing to go all in, okay? That's an opportunity for you, and it's up to you what you want to do with that opportunity, okay? So I'm going to kind of go from the beginning and break my story down for you a little bit. So here's my story, okay? As far back as I can remember, you know, my parents were always drug addicts. I grew up in a drug addict home. And as far back as I can remember, we were always homeless. I don't remember having a home until later in life. And the cycle was always the same. If anybody's ever had drug addict parents, you could relate to this. But the cycle was always the same. We were on welfare, and my parents would get the welfare check. They would get the food stamps. Back then, they gave you paper food stamps. It wasn't on a card like today. And there was always a gas station or somebody right there by the food stamp store that would exchange you 50 cents on a dollar. So they would go here to get the cash, they call it AFDC, and then we'd go right across the street to exchange the food stamps for 50 cents on a dollar, right? That was the routine. We had one big meal that me and my brother, we looked forward to it every payday because we knew it was going to be. It was Son's Kitchen. It's a little Chinese shop. And I can remember it was $4.75 for a big ass plate of Chinese food. We'd share that, and that was like the highlight of that payday because you knew that was coming every time, right? After that, my parents would take that money, they would go buy dope with it, primarily my dad. They'd go buy dope with it. And for 2 weeks, while that dope was there, we would get to stay with somebody. One of their other drug addict friends would let you live in the house for that 2 weeks because they're all partying. You know, and as kids, you're sleeping on the floor. Fucking chaos everywhere. Lights are on, music's blaring, fucking people all running all through the place. And you slept there for that 2 weeks until the dope ran out. Then when the dope ran out, you had to leave. So that once the dope ran out, then it was either sleep in the car. A lot of times we would go to a homeless shelter. We'd go somewhere for 2 weeks. And then your parents are coming down, so you're not allowed to talk, right? So this was the cycle for a long time, as far as I can remember. My dad was pretty much a lifelong criminal. He pretty much was a thief, stole for a living, started teaching me how to steal at a real young age. I would go with him into stores to help him steal stuff so he can get dope with it. For me, it was just bonding with my dad. So whatever I could do to spend time with him, I was cool with, you know what I mean? And I would get praise from him if I took some good, valuable stuff that he could exchange for something, you know, but that was our time together, right? So that was the cycle as a child. We'd break into empty homes, empty apartments, rent a U-Haul, live in that for 3 or 4 months till they come take it. We would steal cars. Cops come, take the car, all of our shit in it. We'd have to start over. That was the cycle, okay? For anybody that's ever lived in a drug addict home, you could probably relate to that, okay? It wasn't until, I think 13, we got at a motel and Motel Drive where you could pay by the week. They didn't run credit or nothing like that. So that's when we had a little bit of consistency because we could just pay by the week. So we're in this motel on Motel Drive. Anybody know where that's at? Yeah, it's a nice place, right? And so we get paid by the week. It was $125 a week, right? And my dad always in and out of prison, a lot of priors. Well, shortly after we went there, he got popped for another GTA, and this time they slapped him with 10 years. So he caught 10 years on that. My mom, still being a drug addict, she was never there. She was always in and out, always off doing her thing. So it was me and my brother. My brother's 3 years younger than I am. So at the time I was 13, maybe 14. He's 3 years younger than I am. And I'm trying to keep him in school because I've stopped going to school at this point. Okay, for those of you who don't know, I've never attended high school. Okay. So the one thing I knew how to do was steal cars. So I started stealing cars. Started stealing cars on my own. I'd been doing it with my dad, but now I started doing it on my own, right? And I stole these cars mainly, originally, was to find items I could sell out of the car to pay the rent. I was taking stereos, and sometimes you find cash. You know, you're finding different things in these cars that you could flip to cover the rent, right? And that became an addiction on itself. It's a high just like anything else. It's an endorphin rush. So you end up becoming addicted to that, which I did. I became highly addicted to stealing cars. And I did that for a better part of 4 years. That's how I paid that rent. But I lived in that motel on Motel Drive for 4 years, from 13 years old to 17 years old. And luckily along the way, somebody that lived in the hotel down the road came and grabbed me one day and was like, "Hey, I need some help on a side job. You want to earn some cash real quick?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he took me and I did a side job for an old man named Bob Papazian, who I ended up spending a lot of time with. He really kind of took me in and treated me like a son. But I would do side work for him and then I'd steal cars afterwards. And this flip-flop back and forth all the way until I was almost 18 years old, right? I had my son when I was 17. He was born into those hotels as well. He lived in those hotels the first couple of years of his life as well, okay? So somehow around the age of 15, in the middle of all of this, you know, I had developed a real hatred for drug addicts. You know, anytime I seen people with drug addicts with their kids, I knew what those kids were going through. I didn't go toward the drugs like a lot of people do. They get sucked into it because that's the life they know. I developed a hatred toward it. I hated everything about it. I hated anybody that I could see was on drugs. Even as a kid, I used to beat up grown men that were high just to get that anger out. And so I developed a hatred toward these drug addicts. And somehow I knew I was going to change it. Around the age of 15, I started telling everybody, this cycle stops with me. This won't continue from me forward. My son won't know this life. I'm going to be rich. I don't know how, but it's going to happen. And I started saying this, and I started putting it into existence. And to the degree that everybody that knew me would actually say, Curtis is going to be rich one day. Because I said it so fucking much that I started believing it and they started believing it. And then it creates this obligation to where when you got other people that believe in you, it's like, now I got to fucking do it because they believe I can do it. It's a weird thing, right? That's why I tell you guys so much to don't be afraid to speak your goals, speak it into existence, because the obligation of people wanting to see you achieve it builds your obligation to want to achieve it as well. So it kind of just goes full circle, right? I didn't know how, but I knew. I was like, this cycle stops right here. The Riggleman name is going to be a better name. I watched my dad, you know, burn his fucking friends, act like he's trying to help him when he's really the one that fucking robbed him. I watched all these things and I go, man, it's just a piece of shit way to live life. This stops with me. No one's ever going to talk about me like that, in that light. I don't know how or what I'm going to do yet, but it stops here. The buck stops here, right? So while I'm doing this, helping Bob on the side, stealing cars, trying to figure out my life, right? An acquaintance I know gets a truck driving job. He starts driving truck and he's making $1,000 a week, which I thought that was fucking rich. I'm like, $1,000 a week. He's driving a nice car, lives in his own place. You know, I'm like, he's got it going on. You know what I mean? I'm like, how do I do that? Right? For Bob, he's now paying me $10 an hour under the table, not full time, but piecework. And I want to get to this truck driving. Now I got my mind made up. If I could just become a truck driver, that's my way out. right? How did I become a truck driver? I find a truck driving school. It's $3,000 to attend this school, right? I don't got $3,000, but I do got an acquaintance that I know will probably loan it to me. So I went to him. I told him my plan. This is my plan. I'm going to become a truck driver and become rich, right? But I need $3,000 to get into this school. He loans me the $3,000. I take this school, which is a 6-week school, okay? Now, when you spend 4 years stealing cars and you drive people's cars like you don't care, you learn how to drive. That's one nice thing. You become a pretty good driver, right? This 6-week class of truck driving I passed in 10 days. I had my license in 10 days. It was like the record at this school, right? And 10 days later, I got a truck driver license. And I'm like, cool. Now I'm going to go get my fucking $1,000 a week job. I started applying. Nobody will hire me. You got to have 2 years experience because the insurance is so high, right? They're like, you got 2 years? No, nope. The one guy that says he will do it, he goes, I'll start you out, but it's $9 an hour. I'm like, fuck, I'm backwards. I left the job making $10 an hour, and now I owe somebody $3,000, which might as well be $1 million. And the only job I got is going backwards. And I'm like, fuck, man, I can't do this. I'm never going to get out of debt, right? So I keep searching. I find an ad that says, drivers wanted, home every night, $500 a day. I'm like, okay, fuck yeah, let's go see what that is, right? I go there, and it's selling steak out of the back of a truck. Have you guys seen those? And I'm like, all right, well, I need a job. I need a job like right now, right? So I jumped on board. I tried it. I do a ride along with a guy, and he's taking me. He's telling me that this is the plan. This is how we do it, so forth, so forth. They suckered me in with a driver job, but you are driving. You're driving a lot, but you get paid by selling steak, right? Selling meat. And it came super natural. It just came really, really natural for me. Within like a week, I'm out selling a lot of guys that have been there a long time. It just really came natural for me. And I'm like, wow. Okay, I remember like 3 weeks into it, I had a $700 day. I mean, I had rarely ever seen $700 in my life. I'm like, $700 in one day. I blew it the same day because you're fucking broke. You're broke, you know, and all of a sudden you got $700 cash. You're like, fuck, stop by the Nike store right there. I need some shoes. Stop over here. Stop. By the time I get home, I'm broke. That was the daily cycle. I mean, you're spending the money as quickly as it's coming in because they don't know how to manage money. You know what I mean? I just know I had a $125 bill at the end of the week to pay the rent. As long as I had that, I'm good, right? About 2 months into it, I'm like, okay, this sales coming very natural for me. I like this, but I'm sick of driving. I'm sick of driving all over the place. 3-4 hours a day of driving, you know? I'm like, I wish there was somewhere I could, you know, people came to me and I could just talk to them, right? On my way home from Course Gold one day, I'm driving down Blackstone and it just dawned on me, the car lot. I look over and I see Michael's. I'm like, you know what, let me just pull in here and talk to him. I pulled in, I talked to the sales manager, whoever at Michael's, and he goes, where's your suit at? Why are you coming here without a suit? I'm like, I don't own a suit. You know, he's like, if you don't have a suit, we don't interview. I'm like, fuck, okay. Well, and I left. So I took one more stab at it. And I was pretty defeated right there, but I took one more stab at it, and I pulled into Lithia. Same thing. Guy comes, fucking first thing he asks, you really coming to an interview like this? I'm like, motherfucker. Now I got a little bit of chip on my shoulder, right? And I'm like, bro, I don't got a suit, man. If I could sell meat out of a truck wearing this, why couldn't I sell a car to somebody who comes here wanting to buy a car, right? And I had this chip on my shoulder, and that line actually fucking got his attention. But it was the setup from the previous one that already pissed me off. I'm like, I'm not gonna get told again I don't got a fucking suit. I don't have a suit, right? And so he sat and talked to me for a little bit, and then somebody else came, and then somebody else came. 4 people talked to. And then the original guy comes back and he's like, can you start tomorrow? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I don't have any clothes though, you know? And he's like, don't worry about it. You got to go through training anyway. Just come tomorrow. I'm like, okay, right? Luckily, I got a good trainer named Robert Tucker that helped me and trained me for 10 days. I started December 6th, 2001. And he didn't let me take my first up until December 16th. So I got 10 full days of training. He gave me a lot of attention. Looking back, You know, you don't realize how difficult that was at the time because it was a busy store. But he gave me a lot of his attention. And you don't appreciate that at the time because you don't understand the value of it. You just think that's a normal process. Now we realize hardly anybody actually gets decent training. And for whatever reason, this guy gave me 10 fucking days of his time and spent a lot of time with me. So when I hit the line, again, it came very, very natural for me. I sold a car the very first day, okay? It sold from the 16th to the end of the month. I sold 11 cars, one unwound. I got paid on 10. When I got my first check, it was $5,100 take home. My check was $5,100. This is literally the moment I go, fucking, this is it. I fucking made it. I found my path. This is my way out right here. I didn't know it. I told everybody I'm going to get rich. I'm going to change this. I'm going to change the name. The buck stops with me, but I didn't know how. And this came along by accident. And boom, there it was, right in my fucking face. $5,100 fucking dollars, right? I'd never seen anything like that before. I didn't even think that was possible, right? So I wanted to take my family to somewhere special. This is kind of off topic, but funny in a way, right? I'm like, I'm going to take them to the nicest fucking restaurant there is in Fresno. I'm taking my mom, my stepdad. By this time, my mom had been clean. We got a relationship again. We're building a relationship. She's not with my dad anymore. So I got a stepdad and my son, his mom. We were together at the time. I'm like, I'm taking everybody to the nicest fucking steakhouse in town. So we roll up to Sizzler, right? And I'm like, I never ate there before. You know what I mean? And the salad bar and all that. I'm like, this is fucking as much as I want. Hell yeah, I'm gonna be here for a while, right? And we had Sizzler, okay? And to me, that was the nicest fucking thing I could think of. I had no idea there was actual steakhouses, right? So I took them to the nicest place I could, okay? Guys, that moment right there, I knew that was my way out. I knew that was my way out, okay? I had found a ticket right there, okay? And that's why, you know, some of the times I'm very passionate when I'm doing this training and when I'm talking to some of you guys and I see people with such talent wasting that talent and treating this like a normal fucking job, right? And here's part of the problem. You guys are too safe. Some of you guys are too safe. You have too many safety nets that will catch you if you fall. So your back's never against the wall. And if your back's never against the wall, you're never truly going to go all in because there's always a way out. There was no way out for me. At this time, I still lived in a motel. My first goal was to get the fuck out of that motel. Now I actually had a check, which I did. My very first check, I'm like, I got to leave that motel. I went and rented an apartment, right? That check back then, you know, 2001, that's a lot of dough. You know, that got me into an apartment. That let me change out my shitty ass truck. The water ran out the radiator. I've told you guys a story about the truck before. That first 2 weeks I worked there, almost a month before I got that first check, I used to park in Burlington parking lot because I didn't want nobody to see me pouring water into the radiator to get home because it started leaking right away. I mean, there was no stoplights. It was a right turn and a U-turn. I had to keep going. I couldn't sit there, right? Or fucking overheat the truck. So very first payday, got to apartment, changed out that truck, went and financed the truck. They cracked me. I'm okay with that. I met the guy later. We laughed about it. He told me how much money he made on me. And we laughed about it. It was a good time, right? And I didn't care. I didn't care. That was my opportunity to get it out of that situation, right? From that moment on, guys, I started learning. I'm like, I have to learn everything about this. I have to get as good as I can at this right here. My closer, Robert Tucker, I would pick his brain so fucking much. I learned to mimic his words. When he would come in to close over the top of me, he would be like, Curtis, I'm running out of stuff to say because you say everything I say now. We sound like the same person. That was, to me, he was God. You know, he'd come in and tell somebody something and they would say yes, and I got paid for it. I'm like, fuck, I got to learn everything he's doing, right? And then these people would come in. Wow, look at that. They would come in and sell these, you know, these little courses, you know, and I'm taking them all. Where everybody else is like, no, that's $200, that's $400. No, I'm good. I'm like, no, sign me up. I want that. I want that. I want that. I want that. I would take all of them. and continue to learn because I knew this was my way out. Okay. Then I went to the next step. I'm like, I'm going to buy a house. Okay. I went to go try and get a loan. And then I realized I had all these collections that back then, your parents could use your name and put stuff in your utilities in your name, while you're a kid. So the first time I go run my credit to actually do something, I got PG&E, water, I got all these collections, and I'm like, shit. So it took me about 3 months, 4 months just to negotiate with them and get those things knocked off, right? And then an acquaintance I had, he was actually my friend's boss, for whatever reason, pulled me aside and was talking to me a little bit about real estate. And he's like, if you do an owner occupied, you can buy in at 3.5% down and start small, and you can upgrade every 12 months and do the same thing. They'll let you change. As long as there's a little more square footage or another bedroom, you can do another owner occupied and upgrade for 3.5% down and rent out your old one. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. And I hopped on that program right away. Bought my first house in 2002, only 7-8 months after being in the car business. 3.5% down, it was $240. That's not a lot of money, right? And started that program. I ended up doing 5 in 5 years, right? So by the 5th year, I had 5, and one was 2 homes on 1 property. So I really had 6, okay? But guys, I jumped on the program. I saw my way out. And I went all in. I stayed broke because I was constantly investing that money back into the homes, whatever I could do. It was 2005, I think it was, when poker was super popular. Who's old enough to remember that? When it was all over TV, everybody was, it was the thing, right? Every station was poker on TV. It was a big thing, right? I remember I bought a poker table to have a poker game in my house, right? And my brother, who at this time worked building boats, he built the furniture for boats, right? He comes in and sees my table, and he starts ripping it apart, telling me how shitty it is. I'm like, bro, I just spent like $700 on this table, and he's like, oh, they should have done this, they should have done that. Look at this. I'm like, he's speaking Chinese to me. I'm like, you think you can do better? He's like, yeah, I could build it way better than that. I'm like, then build me a poker table. I'll buy the supplies, you build me a poker table. Let's see, right? Well, he did. He built one much nicer than the one I had for less than I spent, right? So we replaced that one. I put the new one in. I put the old one out in front of my house, and I put a for sale sign on it for $500. I paid $7. I go, fuck it. I'll sell it for $5 and just get $500 of my money back, right? The fucker sold in 1 hour. I mean, I had people driving up, and 1 hour was gone. I'm like, wow, there's something here, right? Because I had put the time and the money into building these homes up, I extracted 75 grand from one of them, and I started a poker store on Blackstone. It was Curtis's House of Poker and Pool. We built custom poker tables, and then I bought pool tables out of San Diego, and we would bring them back and we'd assemble them, right? So I bought a truck and trailer. I worked at Lithia for 6 days a week. My day off was Tuesday. And I closed the shop Tuesday, Wednesday, the poker store. So my brother can go with me on Tuesday, and then he could take off Wednesday, give him a day off, okay? So on Tuesday, we would load up at 5 a.m., leave my house at 5 a.m. with the truck and trailer, drive to San Diego, load that thing up with 6 pool tables. That's how many pool tables fit on that truck and trailer because they're fucking heavy, right? Load that thing up, drive back. I would have to help him unload it at the shop because he couldn't unload them by himself. They're too heavy. And then I'd go back home. I'd get home at 1 a.m. Next morning, back to work. I did that 7-day routine for 2 years. I didn't take a day off for 2 years, okay? Worked that 7-day routine. I'm grinding. I found my way out. I want to maximize this opportunity. I got a goal to get rich. I'm grinding. I'm working 7 days a week, right? Then an opportunity comes along for me to buy into a car lot. Me and my partner, Joey, found a guy selling his car lot in Clovis. I've been doing it now for almost 6 years. I'm like, let's give it a shot. He forks up 100, I fork up 100. Again, because I had these homes that I had worked my way into, Those are great leverage tools. I could extract that money anytime I want. So that's what I did. I pulled 100 out of another home. Okay. Him and I went and bought the car lot. We started our journey on the car lot. Okay. Now this is in 2007. Okay. Things going really good for the first couple months. The very first month out of the gate, we knocked 30 grand a piece. I never made that kind of money before. I'm like, fuck, this is it. So now I'm going to go buy the dream home. So I went and bought this big ass house on Shaw and Academy, right? At that time, it was almost 800 grand. In 2007, that was a lot of house. You know, today it would cost you a couple million, right? I went and bought that house, and it was like February of 2008. It was like somebody just came in and shut the lights off. Boom. For those of you anybody sell cars back then? No? Were you in the business back then? Do you remember that? Was anybody prepared for that? It happened so fucking fast that, again, my fault. I should have been better prepared. But I was spending money like it was growing on trees, like everybody was, right? I was spending money like an animal because I thought it would never run out. That light, somebody shut that light off. What took me 6 years to build took me 6 months to lose. Everything. All crumbled, right? I had to walk away from those houses. All these houses, all foreclosed. My cars, my credit, gone. I'm $2 million in debt. Because between what they sold the houses for and what's left, they come after you for. The flooring on all the cars on the car lot. The IRS, I owed them $170. $2 million in debt. Everything come crumbling down. Boom, hit the bottom. What do you think I did?
Sold cars.
What's the one fucking thing I know I can do? What's the one thing that saved me when I was in a similar position 6 years prior? Pick up the fucking pen and take my ass back to a car lot, right? And that's what I did. There was no money in management at that time. Managers had to depend on salespeople. Salespeople had to depend on customers coming in the door. There were no customers coming in the door. But these salesmen weren't quite as hungry as I was either. They weren't in the same situation. They weren't in my same situation the first time I went to the car lot. Okay, I can remember the first time I went to the car lot, after I got that first $5,100 check, there was a group of 6 sales guys. I can't remember their names, okay? But I remember they were always huddled together. And they were always bullshitting, always talking. And then I remember one pulled me over. He's like, Curtis, come here. Like he's my friend. And then he called me over there, and he's like, hey, man, you're working too hard. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you're doing too much. You don't have to do all that. I'm like, okay. He's like, they pay us, I think it was $12.75 or something at that time. They pay us minimum wage plus overtime. You're going to make like $4 grand just for being here. And I'm like, bro, we're not in the same fucking spot. You know, this was back then. I'm like, I live in a fucking motel. I'm like, I got to get the fuck out of a motel, man. I go, we're not in the same spot, man. I go, from here forward, don't even talk to me. I don't want to be a part of this. And I just blew him off right there. I don't remember ever talking to that guy again or any of that group. And they were all gone a few months later, right? Tide roll in, tide roll out. Again, another group of guys that treated this like a job instead of the opportunity that it really is. This is a normal job. You can collect overtime. They'll pay you $4 grand. That's not what we're here for. That's not why you get in the car business. That's not why you give up your weekends and give up your time away from your family to do the minimal effort, right? Here I am again, right back in the same spot, come 2009, starting all over again, this time in debt, right? I go back to Lithia. Jeff ran the store at this time. Jeff hates this conversation. I go to Jeff. Hey, I need a job, man. I need to get back in the car business, right? He's like, well, Curtis, we don't have any sales manager positions available right now or anything like that. And I'm like, I don't want a sales manager position. I want to just sell cars. Just let me on the line. He's like, let you on the line? He's like, they're not making no money. I go, I'll be fine. Just put me on the line. And he's like, Curtis, my top guy is making like $4 grand. I mean, I don't want you to come in and quit on me in 30 days. You know, it looks bad. I'm like, I'm not gonna quit, and I ain't gonna make $4,000. I go, I'll make $10,000 minimum. I go, just put me on the line. And he's like, Curtis, nobody here is making 10 grand anymore, man. Those days are gone. Da, da, da. I'm like, he's like, my sales managers are making 5. They're on a guarantee. I'm like, put me on the line and just let me go. It's on me. All right, man, I'll give you a job. Just don't make me look bad, right? Their mindset was defeated. Their mindset was this is what we had to accept, right? For 2009, anybody that sold cars back then, it was a very tough time. There was a foreclosure. Every other house was foreclosed. I mean, it was a tough time during that time, right? But I was a man on a mission. I know what I can do. I've been here before. I've been worse off than this before. This is not the worst place I've been. And I know what it takes to get back there. And now I'm even pissed off because everything I had worked for 6 years, I lost in 6 months. Now I want it back rapid speed. I'm like, I want all my shit back. I didn't do all that just to give it away, right? I go back to Lithia to sell cars. And I remember the top guy that was on my team prior, I was closer at Lithia for 4 years. I was the top closer in the whole company. And he was my top guy, right? And he walks up to me and he goes, now the student's gonna teach the teacher how it's done. And I'm like, oh, well, good to see you too, motherfucker. I'm like, I didn't know you had held all this whole time, He had a little chip on his shoulder. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm not here for that, but that's okay. Let's go, right? Month 1, I sold 27 cars. I made $17,000. He sold 12 cars, and he wanted off the line. He went and told the general manager, I don't want to be on the floor with Curtis anymore. Put me in the internet, and he moved to the internet department, right? Month 2 was like 26 cars. In 4 months, I sold exactly 100 cars. Okay, that changed everyone's thinking in the store. The store lit up. It was like you turned all the fucking lights on. We don't have to save power no more. We're back. We're selling cars again. People started flocking to that store. It was the talk of the town. Even though there was still a depression going on, just that momentum right there. Momentum's a motherfucker. That's why I've said before, this sales is in waves. And when you're on the wave, you want to keep riding that wave. Okay, momentum is a big deal. That momentum inspired everybody, and all of a sudden we started selling cars again. I mean, the whole place just lit up, started selling cars again. The general manager persuaded me to go back into management. He's like, I got to put you as a sales manager. I need you teaching these guys and so forth. And I did it for a short while, but the money wasn't still there yet. So I went back to the floor. I'm like, no, I got to go back to the line. That's where I can make my money right now, right? When the shit hits the fan, I know there's one fucking guy I could depend on. I know there's one guy that's going to get out there and do it. You know what I mean? And that's what I had to do. Right? Went back out there, started building that thing up again. Okay? It took me 7 years to get out of that debt. 7 years before I paid off the fucking IRS. Because they don't stop. They're relentless. Their fees on their fees and their late fees. You send them $1,000 and like 10 goes to principal, 990 goes to their interest. So unless you start sending them chunks, you're never going to get out. It took me so long to get out of that debt, 7 years. It wasn't until 2014 that I was able to buy my first house again. So I went almost 7 years or so before I was able to buy a house again, before I was able to get my credit cleaned up enough, put together a down payment, get a little breathing room. I couldn't even have a banking account for 2 years. For the first 2 years, I was cashing my check at the liquor store because if I cashed it at the bank, the IRS was going to take the whole thing, right? So it took all the way till 2014 before I was able to buy another house again and get this ball rolling again. But as soon as I got that first one, what do you think we did again? Rinse and repeat, right? Success leaves clues. I'm like, I know what it takes now. Here we go again. And we're right back on that cycle. I want another one. I want another one, right? I started investing money with a guy that was investing in stocks for me. I started investing with him. I'm giving him 3, 4, 6, 7, got up to where I was doing almost 10 a month. 10 a month because he's a day trader and he's investing in these stocks for me, right? And I think it was 2014 or so, no, 2016. I wanted to buy a Harley. So I went to him and I'm like, I don't got no money in the bank. I invest everything. You know what I mean? It's either tied up in a home. At that time, I had 2 or 3 homes now. and I had been investing everything with him because he was giving me a 10% return, which was better than anything else at the moment, right? I'm like, hey, I need to take out 20 grand. I want to go buy a Harley. He's like, okay, I'll put an order in for you. I don't deal with stocks. I don't know how it works. I believe what I'm being told, right? Okay, I'll put an order in for you. Be here in a few days. Cool. A few days go by. Hey, did that come yet? No, I don't know what's going on. Let me check with him. I'll check on Monday, see what the deal is. Okay, cool. Right? A few more days go by. I'm like, hey, did that come in yet? He goes, I don't know what the fuck's going on, man. I'm just going to reorder it and get a new, I'll cancel the old one and reorder a new one. I'm like, cool. Right? A few more days go by. Hey, that come in yet? He starts crying. I'm like, that's not a good sign. Right? He starts crying. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, I've lost all your money, Curtis. There's no money. I'm like, you're fucking kidding me right now, right? 140 racks. Everything I own, gone again. I'm like, you're kidding me. He's like, I lost everything. I'm getting divorced. I'm bankrupt. Your money is gone. I'm like, motherfucker, right? I'm like, here we go again. I'm like, okay, let's start over. Let's do it again, right? This is 2016, right? And at this time, I'm a general sales manager at Keller. And start racking my head around this again. Got to accept it. Got to keep moving forward. I'm like, it's not going to stop me. It's just a setback. But we're going to keep grinding, right? We're going to keep grinding, right? I told these guys at Keller, they hired me to get the store to $300,000. And I just take an assessment of the staff, the processes, everything there. I'm like, $300,000, this is going to be a walk in the park. I'm like, I'll have this bitch at $500,000 in 90 days, you know? And then Keller himself told me, this store was never designed to do 500,000, Curtis. Just get me to 300. I'm like, okay, I get it. People talk the talk, right? 120 days later, we got that store at $600,000, right? Now I'm making 30 grand again. Now I'm stacking that again. The GM that I worked for gets fired. He was a good dude. He wasn't the most competent guy, but he was a good guy, but he did let people do their job, you know, which a lot of people just can't even do that, right? He gets fired, a new GM comes in. 5 days later, that GM fires me. I'd never been fired before. So there's a story to it, but 5 days later, I'm out of a job. I'm like, all right, you know what? I need to take some fucking time off anyway, right? I've been stressed out. 2 months ago, I lost everything. I'm like, I need to take a vacation. I haven't been on vacation in a while. I'm like, I'm going to take a week off. Go do something, right? On my drive home from Hanford to Fresno, I started getting phone calls. I haven't reached out to anybody. I started getting phone calls. I get 3 phone calls from 3 different people, right? Dealerships. Come here, run this store, so forth, so forth. Okay? 2 of them are for general manager positions. One's for a sales manager position, right? Now, in my mind, I'm kind of past sales manager because I like teaching. I like, helping to grow an atmosphere, grow a culture. And you're kind of limited as a sales manager because you're in that middle management where there's somebody above you telling you what to do, so forth. So you're kind of in that middle management. I'm like, man, I'm not really interested in sales manager. You know, general manager is where I could actually get things done, you know. So 2 are for general manager, 1's for sales manager. The one that's for sales manager just happens to be like a mile down the road now because I'm coming down 43. And as I'm coming up to Selma, that's where the sales manager position is. It's right there. I told the other 2 that were in Fresno, I'm taking a week off. I'll call you when I get back. I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody right now, right? So the one that's for a sales manager position, I go, you know what, fuck it. I'm right here. I'll pull over and say hi, right? I pull over. That's the day I met Mike. Mike and I start talking. I start realizing that this guy thinks the same way I think, right? And I start realizing there's a chemistry here. This guy's looking for what I need, and this is exactly the kind of owner that I'm looking for. Somebody who's going to let me run. Somebody who's going to, support my ideas and let me go. And because I'm dealing directly with the owner, I don't got somebody in between that's coming and putting their thumb on me and go, nope, not a good idea. Because I had dealt with that before with the old general manager. It was constantly blocking my ideas because of his own insecurity, right? And I ended up meeting with the other two guys, and their offers were a lot fucking better at the time, a lot better. But there was something about this conversation I had with Mike. I just saw that there's possibly a bigger future to that, right? For whatever reason, I just went with a gut feeling. I go, you know what? There's something bigger here than my cap here. The cap is much larger here when I get there. I'm starting from a further distance behind, but the ceiling is a lot higher. Make sense? I go, fuck it, let's give it a shot. Came in here, started this as a sales manager at Ford. I was only in charge of I wasn't in charge of that store at all, actually. I was a sales manager there. There was already a senior sales manager there that was, I think, technically above me, maybe, right? And started this journey over again. Broke again. This is in 2016, October of 16 is when I started, October 24th. Start over, start this journey again. Junior was there. What did we do? We started implementing processes right away, right? They put me responsible for setting goals for the following year. So I could see the processes and the training and the people that are in place here are far behind the industry standard. And that's just because that's what they knew. They were in a small bubble, and that's what they knew. You know, the previous year, 2015, the auto industry grew 17% year over year. I put together goals. I get these goals kicked back to me, and they go, these are far too high. These are not realistic. We're looking for like 10%. And I'm like, 10%? Well, the fucking industry did 17% last year. You want me to set my goal 7% below the industry standard? I'm like, that don't even make no sense. Just 17% would just be saying I'll do average. What the fuck I want to do below average for? I'm like, no. My goals were like 200% year over year. And they just thought that was unrealistic because they hadn't seen it before. I know the processes that can be put into place, and I wasn't afraid to get out there and fucking do it. There's nothing that I've ever asked any one of you guys to do that I'm not willing to do at any given moment, right? We started hammering down, putting these processes in place. Okay, guys that had worked here, that hadn't been dealing with it, maybe didn't like it so much, right? Because it was new to them. I'm sure you can look back now and appreciate it, right? But we did in 5 months, the store broke $400,000, right? Never heard of those numbers before. To me, that still wasn't big numbers, but to them, it was the biggest thing they ever seen, right? 2 years later, not even 2 years later, a year and a half later, me and Mike sit down and we start putting together plans for this whole company. Everything that's happening right now, we talked about and dreamt about 6 years ago. We talked about all this 6 years ago, and we just started working this plan. And now here it comes around full circle, okay? Guys, I've gotten rich in the last 5 years. Now I'm a multimillionaire, thank God, okay? It took 20 years of fucking grinding and hard work and starting over twice and not giving up, going all in over and over and over, right? Not giving up on myself. Okay? Taking action. 20 years, and then 5, everything came together. Just like that. Okay? And I tell you this story, you guys, because A, I want to inspire some of you guys. B, I want you guys to understand where I came from so you don't look at me and go, well, you know, this happened for him because of this. That might don't apply to that. Guys, we're all the same. If you want it, it's there. You just have to want it more than everybody else. You got to be determined to go get it more than everybody else. And you can't let failures along the way stop you from your journey. You got to push through them. Okay? And when things get hard, what's the one fucking person that you can rely on to get you through that? Yourself. Yourself. You just got to fucking go for it. You got to push harder, and you can say, you know what? Yes, this sucks. It sucked when I lost everything. I had to move my family out of our nice ass house, go get a small rental And I was selling my shit to pay that rent payment until I sold everything. There was nothing left. Then I had to move out of that thing, right? Yes, that sucked, but it didn't stop to go. I go, fuck, this is a nasty setback, but I'm going to get it back. And this is what I had to tell all of them, my family, to keep their attitude positive. Because if I went into a depression and was crying about it, what do you think would happen to them? And I just, this is a step back. I'm going to get it all back and then some. We just got to fight through this. We got to fight through this. We got to keep going. We can't let it affect our attitudes. We can't fucking moan and cry about it because that's not going to change nothing. We got to fight through it, right? Just as I'm coming out of that, bang, slap in the face again. I go, fuck, I didn't see that one coming. That came out of left field. They say the shots that you don't see are the ones that knock you out. That one fucking hurt. I just wanted to get a Harley. I didn't know I was broke. All right? I'm like, fuck, here we go again. Okay? But you don't let it stop you. You keep pushing. You keep pushing. You keep driving. Okay? We all go through our ups and downs. We all have our demons that creep in sometimes, and you start to wonder, is this for you? You know, and all these different things that come through. But you got to turn around and ask yourself, have I truly ever went all in? Have I invested everything and went all in?